I set the perfect trap for my toxic coworker, and he walked right into it with a single click. This is a story about a man who loved to hear himself talk, especially in front of an audience of senior leadership. He thought he could publicly undermine a colleague without consequences. What he didn't know was that his next angry email wasn't just going to his target, it was going to everyone. In the world of corporate chess, some people play checkers. And then there are people like our storyteller, who was dealing with a colleague who just couldn't stay in his lane. This guy was a professional meddler. He had an opinion on everything, and he made sure everyone heard it, whether they wanted to or not. He seemed to get a special thrill from replying to group emails with unsolicited, and often unhelpful, feedback, positioning himself as the smartest guy in the room. For a long time, it was just an annoyance. A low-grade hum of irritation in the background of a busy workday. But one day, that changed. Our storyteller was managing a critical project. They sent out a status update to a very specific, very important group of people, key stakeholders, senior leaders, the kind of people whose time you don't waste. The coworker was on the email, but only as a CC, a courtesy copy. He wasn't a key player, he just needed to be in the loop. Of course, he couldn't resist. Minutes after the update went out, his reply landed in everyone's inbox. Reply all. He started picking apart the update, weighing in with unnecessary comments on things he didn't fully understand. It was a classic power play, designed to make him look engaged and important in front of the bosses, while subtly undermining the person who actually did the work. Our storyteller saw it for what it was and decided to shut it down professionally. They replied, but this time, only to him. The message was simple and direct: if you want to discuss this further, let's take it offline. It was a polite, standard way of saying, this isn't the time or the place. But this guy didn't want to take it offline. The whole point was the audience. So, what does he do? He hits reply all again, doubling down, continuing the public debate nobody asked for. That was the moment the game changed. Our storyteller knew that arguing with him in front of everyone was a losing proposition. It would just make them look petty. So they made a calculated move. They drafted a new email, but this time, they made two very deliberate changes. First, they removed every single senior leader from the distribution list. It was now a one-on-one conversation. Second, they added a new tag to the subject line, in all caps, private. The email itself was a masterclass in professional confrontation. It was firm, but not aggressive. It said, very clearly, I didn't appreciate the way you interjected into a matter you don't fully understand. In the future, if you have comments like this, please send them directly and only to me. You have to understand the kind of person this coworker was. He didn't take kindly to being corrected, especially not in private where he couldn't perform for an audience. His ego was stung. He replied back, just to our storyteller, with pure arrogance. He wrote that he was free to reply how he wanted and as broadly as was necessary. He was essentially saying, I'll do what I want, and you can't stop me. He thought he had won. He thought he had put our storyteller in their place. He had no idea he had just been handed a shovel and was happily digging his own professional grave. Because now, our storyteller had everything they needed. They had his public grandstanding. They had his private arrogance. And now, they were going to give him the stage he so desperately craved. They sat down to write one final email. This email was only addressed to him. The subject line still had that comforting, private tag on it. The tone was cool, detached, and final. It had 3 simple points. First, I have said what I intended to say, and I am not going to argue with you. This establishes them as the calm one, the one ending the pointless conflict. Second, I find it interesting that you are so eager to broadcast your opinions, but you seem to be inconsistent. You don't like broadcasting your own failings, do you? Like that major project that completely failed under your watch a while back. And there it was. The bait. A direct, pointed shot at a known failure, a sore spot for his massive ego. It was a carefully chosen remark, designed to do one thing: make him angry. And the third point: I am not going to go back and forth with you on this. It is no longer a positive conversation. This was the door slam. The final word. But here's the part that changes everything. Before hitting send on this seemingly private message, our storyteller did one tiny, invisible, genius thing. They quietly edited the reply to header of the email. And they added every single one of those senior managers from the original email chain back into it. The trap was set. The email, sent only to the coworker, landed in his inbox. He saw the private subject line. He read the calm, dismissive tone. And then he got to the part about his failed project. And he snapped. Blinded by pure, unadulterated rage, he did exactly what he was expected to do. He hammered out a furious, unprofessional, ranting reply. He threw decorum out the window, letting all of his frustration and anger pour onto the screen. He was going to put this person in their place once and for all. He was certain this tirade was only going to be seen by the one person who had dared to challenge him. He saw the private subject line and felt safe. He never once looked at the to field. He just hit reply. And then, he hit send. Imagine the scene in our storyteller's office. They're watching their inbox. And then, it arrives. The coworker's angry email. But it didn't just come to them. It went to the head of the department. It went to the project stakeholders. It went to every single person he had been trying to impress. They all saw his unhinged, unprofessional meltdown in its full glory. They saw him attacking a colleague in response to a conversation he thought was private. Our storyteller described reading that message with exquisite humor. They did nothing. They said nothing. They just sat back and watched the fallout. And the best part? 3 minutes later, 3 agonizingly long minutes after the bomb had